what I spoke about earlier about the laws are constant and the perception are the variables, and then how they pertain to the human body in Jilly Juice, because this really makes sense when you finally look at humanity and all of the different cancer, disease, and chronic illness, and then the laws. Okay, so the law keeps, law and order. It keeps life going, because if you have chaos and you have death, all right. So when you have cancer, disease, and chronic illness and death, it means that something violated the laws of the immune system, and the outcome is death. Because when you actually adhere to the laws of the immune system, you get life, you get cell regeneration, you feel better. You know that nutrition adheres to the laws of the immune system, so you start seeing your body shape shift back to what it was originally intended, because you're taking care of your body. And some of you do it on a very superficial level, so you see superficial changes. So the laws are the constant, whether it's a law of don't kill, thou shalt not kill, like the Bible laws, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife and thy neighbor's ass and whatever else, right? So there are laws in our society that if you violate them, guess what? You go to jail. I mean, there is no question about that. You violate the laws on your taxes, guess what? You get fined or you go to jail. You violate the laws of Facebook, guess what? You get put in Facebook jail. You violate the laws of anything that has a law on it, guess what? You have a specific measurable result. You get ousted. It's not going to be in your favor. And then, so the laws are always constant. You have a law, and then you're held, and you have an action, and then you're held accountable for your action. And some of you have favorable accountability for how you interpret the law, and some of you have unfavorable accountability on how you interpret the law. And so we have so many different perceptions on the different laws. So pain. So this is where the perception of the laws of the immune system get cattywampus. So pain right now, there's a perception around pain that it means that you're dying. It means that life means that you're, that you need to disappear it with negative elements, and that pain is bad, right? That's the perception of the law. When your body is trying to live and is trying to survive, and you violate the laws of your immune system, you're in pain. So guess what? People have a perception around that law of the immune system. And those perceptions end up in a very specific measurable result. That's called mutations. So your perception of pain then has you act in a specific way. And guess what? You violate the laws. And then guess what the outcome is? It's unfavorable. You're on a death trajectory. You are seeing your body fall apart. You're getting older because you have violated the laws of your immune system. So right now, we are now finally uncovering and peeling back the perceptions of the laws that are out there. And that's why we have court cases, and that's why we have things that set a precedent, because the laws are always changing in the world, like as far as man, and how they interpret the laws and what would be, something that would change, and it would be based upon a case that was ruled in a specific favor. And that's how laws change, is because that's how man changes. So there's man-made laws that keep law and order. Okay. But that has a bit more variable, more fluidity, and that does keep law and order. It keeps life going. Okay. But there are very, very rigid laws of the human immune system. There's very, very rigid laws of chemistry, biochemistry, physics, okay? And those are inarguable. If you didn't have words to explain them, you would have an action and you have a reaction based upon what that specific action was. And this is where things get crazy. It's because of the fact that we have perception around the laws. How are these laws being interpreted? And that's why there's a lot of crap out there too in the mainstream and and or out there around politics is how are they interpreting the laws? And then what's the outcome? And so that is why there's so much chaos right now out in the world. Not so much like out your front door. I guess relative to where you live, maybe there is chaos. Because yeah, right now where I live, people interpret the law very, much the same. We want peace over here, like where I'm at in Canton, Ohio. We all interpret the law as basically the same. We're not out there, I don't see anybody out there robbing anybody, shooting anybody, right? Because I'm circulating within a community that has the same kind of perception of how the law is being played out. But you go into another community where they're interpreting the law in a totally different way. The laws are meant to be violated, right? So they do all their crazy, against the law, criminal type of behavior because they're interpreting the law in a different way. Okay, so every single society, socioeconomic status, interest group, political platform, all are interpreting the laws in their own way. As well as the health and wellness field. They're interpreting the laws of your immune system in a completely different way. And then you see what happens when you interpret the law in the way the holistic and the allopathic world interpret it. You're seeing the specific measurable result. You're seeing the aging and the cell degradation and then all of the marketing and everything else around that. Okay, so now we're looking at jilly juice and we're understanding the laws of the immune system, and that's what my book is about. It's about jilly juice and the laws of jilly juice and all the different components that are friendly to the laws of the immune system. And then you have the power of the human body and the laws that are attached to what is possible for the human body if you adhere to the laws. And here you go. You can have cell regeneration. You can have organ regeneration. You can have limb regeneration. You can have indefinite life, reverse the aging process. Hey, Massimo. Okay, so you're seeing now the possibility, if you do adhere to the laws of your immune system, what could be possible for the human body. And then in my jilly juice protocol, I'm now explaining to you the laws that are around pain, and that the holistic and the allopathic community have been violating the laws. Biotech, yes, even though they have a place because they're catering to people who don't know any better, they're violating the laws. But that's because you asked for it. People are asking for vaccines. They're asking for prescription drugs. They're asking for pills, powders, supplements, and detoxes. And they don't realize that it's violating the laws. But remember, our world is run by the market. It's run by people who want stuff. And then guess what? There's always going to be somebody that's going to provide you what you want, even if it isn't good for you. Okay? So now we have to understand the laws before we believe all the stories. Because all those stories are perceptions around the law. So this is why it's incumbent for those of you who are in the legal field to understand the laws of your immune system, because you know there's a direct correlation. You have law and order in our society, the Constitution, and Black Laws Dictionary and all that. So there's obviously laws of your immune system that have to be adhered to, or there's an outcome because of, either good or bad relative to whether you would violate the laws or whether you adhere to the laws. It really comes down to the law. Why is it that politicians have a background in law in some way? Because they have to create legislation is based upon what legal definitions and how they interpret it and how that's going to affect the general population so they can keep law and order. So really everything comes down to the laws. And hormones play a part in how laws are interpreted. And that's where it gets really trippy, right? Because it's not just straight black and white when you're dealing with specific hormones. And why do these hormones exist? Because there is so many different facets to life. Okay, yeah, you can violate the laws all day long and have death as your outcome, and that's still natural. Or you can always adhere to the laws of your immune system. Guess what? You have indefinite life, and that is still natural. Everything that happens out there in the world is natural, whether it's synthetic, lab created, or in the garden. It's all natural because they all adhere to the laws or violate the laws, and then there's a specific outcome. If you want your outcome to be indefinite life, then you adhere to the laws. You don't violate the laws. That's why it is our society is able to flourish and it's not, stuck back in the dark ages, because we have kept with very, very sustainable, universal, I don't want to say that. I mean, how do I say this? We are stuck with laws that really provide life to humanity. Enough of it. Now there's people that are doing stupid stuff and they're getting held accountable. But why, people in the West are able to flourish much, I wouldn't say much more. I mean, because we're able to invent things. We're not stuck in survival. Because, yeah, we are violating the laws, but we're trying to fit in so much ingenuity and technology in a very small amount of time with each human. So we play with the laws that will elicit a specific outcome, but in the end, when you die, it means you really did violate the laws. You just were able to manipulate the body in between the life and the death. So yeah, laws are the constant, no matter what. So if we just come from the standpoint, there is a law that is pro-life in every single thing that we do, then we can understand that everything out there surrounding those law, the different, perceptions, it's all based upon the hormones. And this is what, like why is it that and this is where I have to really get clear, is the reason why we have hormones is because, yeah, there is specific outcomes. When you do A, B happens, right? The if-then, if you go this way, then this happens. If you go this way, then this happens. Animals have laws too, and they are run by an instinct to feed. What they eat, it doesn't matter if it's whatever is driving them, because they don't have the ability to reason. Like my dog has no ability to reason. The fact that she's very healthy is because I made her healthy. But if I gave her to somebody else who wasn't doing jilly juice at all, then guess what? She would be degrading in that other family. Okay, so humans are so different than animals because we have the ability to reason. We have the ability to make choices. We have the ability to understand, if you go this way, this will happen. You could go this way for a small amount of time and then go in another direction. And, so you can find ways to manipulate everything based upon your intention. Animals don't have that ability to do that. They're strictly run by their instincts to survive. So, we as humans are very, very lucky that we have access to all these different choices. But the reason why we have all these different choices is because we have so many different perceptions. And then there's the outcome. And then we need to change our perception because we want to change the outcome. But we have to realize that there's an outcome that we can change too. We didn't even know that immortality was possible. So everything that we did was based upon, the perception of very superficial changes. But the outcome was always going to be the same. And so finally, when we understand the laws of the immune system, that we can tap into continuous cellular regeneration, oh my gosh, a whole new world has opened up that we never knew we thought was possible. Because now we finally understand the laws of the immune system. But if you don't understand the laws, guess what? You believe all the stories and the perceptions, and then you're run by the hormones. The hormones have a place in case you do violate the laws. They come into place, and then they come into play, and then they run you. And, so when the body does feel like it's in danger, guess what? You have that adrenaline hormone, the fight or flight. And if you're always running by adrenaline, guess what? That's going to degrade you. Now, why does it degrade you? Because your body is not supposed to live like that. Remember, you have a certain amount of battery life, and you have to keep recharging your batteries all the time. So when you finally recharge your batteries all the time, you're not going to be living from the fight or flight, because you won't be putting yourself in positions to always be triggering that hormone to come out and be the predominant one. And that's where all this balance comes from. And this is insane, because it is about the laws. You know, you keep with the balance of the nutrition, the minerals, and all of that, then you're not going to see an imbalance in all of the hormones, the different things that keep you safe, that are there when you need them. Because yeah, when danger happens and it's out of your control, guess what? Your adrenaline hormone is going to kick in when you need it. People who do get triggered out there, like their adrenaline hormone get triggered out there just out of nowhere, they can do amazing feats of strength. Some people don't even know where it came from, but when you're in that kind of danger, people do amazing things. And that's why you see all this creativity, because then people are inducing that hormone. And that's what these performance enhancing drugs and protocols do, is they are inducing a hormone to then give them feats of strength and unusual abilities on a continuous basis. But guess what? That does deplete the body, because your body was not meant to live in that type of lifestyle. Your body was meant to be at rest. Your body was meant to chill out, do what you have to do, make sure that all your needs are met, your baser instincts are met, but you're not tapping into reproduction, because that means your body's on a death trajectory. And your body was meant to live a well-balanced life. Now, how do you live a well-balanced life in a world that is always run by hormones? Well, you pick and choose. And if you are in a hormone-driven field, let's say like a first responder, well, you know that that's going to be always your daily thing. So guess what? You're going to counter all of that, okay? And with the right elements. So that adrenaline that you used up that day because you had 5 ambulance clients, well, guess what? That's a lot of mutations, because that hormone, that adrenaline hormone, is working for 8 hours. So guess what? On the weekend, you're going to be slamming my drink to repair. So that way you're not living on that, you know, you're repairing the damage, because you're always going to have to tap. If you're in a first responder type of position, then you're always going to have to repair the damage of inducing that kind of hormone on a daily basis. And so you can still be, you know, on the cutting edge marketing, because you won't be so reactive. Because when someone is inducing that kind of hormone on a daily basis, and that's where the roid rage and everything, it's because it creates an imbalance, and they're always living from that. And then all of a sudden they're just like now in this roid rage, because they have all they're living on is that hormone, and they're not balancing out with other hormones to keep them relatively even if they're in that specific field. So that way, you know, so you're not so reactive. Because over time, yeah, your body breaks down, and then there is that craziness, and then you see it in people's bodies. You know, when you have an underproducing hormone, overproducing hormone, and you see obesity, you see diabetes, you see all that stuff. You see aging, you see people taking their thyroids out, and they're now on synthetic hormones. So there's no way they're able to reverse stuff if they feel like that they have to have this hormone. The reason why you have to have that thyroid hormone is because you haven't given your body enough nutrients to be able to develop it on its own and then balance it out and then eradicate it altogether if it doesn't need it. The fact that you need these hormones says that you have major red flags in your body. And then when you're taking in synthetic hormones, you're doing hormone replacement therapy, yeah, you're basically, you're signing your own death warrant. It's just a matter of time. Yeah, you may be able to perform right now, but you see your body degrading. You know, you see your collagen disappearing. You're seeing your skin wrinkling up and drying out. You're seeing, you know, your hair disintegrating. You're seeing your body decay because the massive amount of hormones that you are living on right now. So yeah, so the laws are always constant. And then your perception around the manifestations, the outcome of your actions regarding the law is based upon your understanding if you are actually abiding by the laws of the immune system, or if you are violating the laws of the immune system. And death and destruction and violence and chaos all are people breaking the laws of their society and their immune system. When you break the law out there, guess what? It's chaos. And guess what? You get hauled off into jail. And there goes your life, because you're now in jail, or you're paying lots of fines. When you violate the laws of your immune system, guess what? You're in jail again, because now you violate the laws. Now your body's all messed up, and now you're in jail. You are a captive of your hormones. You see people who are in jail, they're mixing in with all the conspiracies, and they're chemtrail activists. They're in jail of their activism. They don't see anything but that jail of their perception of the world. And that jail is very limiting, and it gets smaller and smaller as more fear gets induced, because they're watching the internet and looking at all the fear out there. Fear is a jail cell. Okay, so when you violate the laws of your immune system, you are in jail. And you can't eat food. You can't think of anything but the looping activism. You have no other hope for the future because you're in jail. People who violate the laws are always in jail, whether it's in their body or out there in the community behind bars. So you've got to know the laws so you're not in jail. And your sickness is jail. When you go to jail, it's because you violate the laws in your community. Do you see how that works? So the laws are the constant. And, you know, and being in San Quentin is no different than being stuck at home 500, 600 pounds in the jail of your body. ALS is a jail in your body. Cancer, disease, and chronic illness is a jail because of you violate the laws of your immune system. So now you have to figure out, okay, I've been violating the laws. I'm in the jail of my body. How do I get out? Well, first you have to understand the laws and stop believing all the stories and understand the role of pain and healing. And this is where all of my science that is so dry, but it makes sense if you understand it, that's in my book that I wrote today, not today, but within the last 6 months, that's out there on my website, jillyjuice.com. Those are all the laws of your immune system: pain, the ability to regenerate cells, the role of nutrition, the role of salt, the role of fermentation when it comes to the right vegetable, which is cabbage and kale. Don't be fermenting carrots. Carrots have a lot of sugar. Bad. Don't be fermenting fruit. Those violate the laws of your immune system. It feeds the candida. You know, fermenting vinegar, guess what? That's ethanol. That feeds the candida, and it violates the laws of your immune system. Everything in the holistic and the allopathic world violate the laws of your immune system. And then guess what? People are in the jail of their body. They're aging. Their mind is breaking down. Yeah, they may see superficial changes because they are tapping into specific hormones like the pleasure hormone, or they're completely anesthetizing themselves. And they're chasing happiness, or they're constantly depressed, or they're looking for, you know, some kind of relief from the pain, but they're not willing to do the work to reverse and heal. What they want to do is they just want to take away the issue, but they're not really healing, or they want to anesthetize their body. And those are all violating the laws of the immune system. Okay, so yeah, so, and then, you know, when you see these people aging, they're in jail of their body. When they're when they're going to naturopathics, constantly detoxing, constantly going from one antibiotic, whether it's a rife machine, whether it's dandelion root, whether it's colloidal silver, those are all different jails. Because now you're afraid to go anywhere without it, because you don't need that type. You don't need that excess heavy metal. You need nutrition. That's not a jail, because I'm not in jail. Guess what? I'm not a slave to the health insurance system. I'm not a slave to the naturopathic, homeopathic, allopathic, osteopathic, chiropractor. I'm not a slave to that system. I choose to pay my taxes because I live in a world where they have infrastructure built in for me for my convenience. So I'm paying taxes for my convenience of being able to walk out my front door, get in my car, and drive to the store and drive to another store and go and hang out with my family. That's what I pay my taxes for, is that convenience. I pay car insurance in case there's an idiot who isn't very, you know, who's very malnourished, making wrong choices if I don't happen to see it before. I mean, I don't put myself in any unnecessary situations, but hey, you never know. There are some things that are out of your control. So that's why you have insurance, just in case. And then, and then you figure out how much of a deductible based upon if you bet you're for yourself or against yourself. So there's ways of which you can even manage your premiums so that way you're not paying so much because you know that you're not going to get into an accident, because usually the accidents are really the person's fault. Like, the person that's driving, not so much the other person. Very rarely have I been in an accident, knock on wood, that's the other person's fault. Maybe twice in my lifetime. The rest I really haven't. I think I got into one accident in my 20s, and that's it. Okay, so that's the only things that I need. So other than that, I have complete and utter freedom. I'm not enslaved by, me violating the laws of my immune system. But those of you are. And some of you don't even admit it because you like your velvet coffin, you like your velvet, you're in a federal prison versus, a regular prison. Some of the federal prisons are much better and have better accommodations than the other prisons, right? So anyways, so that's how it pertains to jilly juice, is that pain, and then your perception around spices is because there's the law, the spices violate the laws of the immune system. The amount of spices that people are taking, because they're using it for managing their symptoms in the holistic world. So you're going to be understanding that when you're taking massive amounts of spices for specific things, it violates the laws of your immune system. When you're drinking lemon juice, it violates the laws of your immune system. When you're doing the colloidal silver pills, powder, supplements, detoxes, bentonite clay, diatomaceous earth, zeolite, turpentine, the Rife machines, when you get acupuncture, all of those types of therapies violates the laws of your immune system. Every single therapy out there in the holistic allopathic world, immunotherapy, psychotherapy, all of the therapies that are out there violate the laws of the immune system. And then guess what? You're in jail. And there are more socially acceptable jails than others. Being in jail out there, in our community, like in a actual jail, is not very socially acceptable. But guess what? Lupus is a jail of a person. Cancer is a socially acceptable jail. Obesity is a socially acceptable jail. Alcoholism, cannabis users is a socially acceptable jail. They may not see it as them being in jail, because they think jail is like going to jail out there, at the police station. Oh no. When you are dependent on your prescription drugs, when you are stuck in your cancer-ridden body and you're trying to find ways with chemotherapy or cannabis to combat it, and then you have to stay away from certain foods, you have to stay away from certain people, you have to stay away from this, you have to avoid that, and then, your world has become smaller and smaller. Guess what? That's a jail. The fear that, the next drink that you take could put you over the edge, that's a jail. Fear is a jail. The activism is a jail. All of these political platforms are a jail. And some are more socially acceptable than others. Doesn't mean that you're living a free life. No. Everybody that is working from their hormones are in jail. So go figure that. So it's incumbent upon those that are doing jilly juice to understand the laws are constant, they don't change, but it's a perception, and that's why you see so much backlash against jilly juice, because people have a very different perception on what pain is and what salt is for, because they don't know the laws. And when you're ignorant of the laws, guess what? You believe all the stories, and then you're in jail. But it's not the jail that has bars, it's a jail of ignorance. And then they're stuck in their cancer-ridden body. Hey, if they want to be in jail, don't let me stop you. But I can give you the freedom if you choose to honor the freedom. Freedom isn't free. That makes sense. You gotta pay to play, baby. So anyways, I gotta go, but you guys have a good day. Just thought I'd mention that. Bye.